Hello, welcome to Will's Reviews on smoking, grilling, and cooking. Today I've got an awesome recipe for a venison stew that I want to share with you. I did a video a couple of weeks ago on venison Salisbury steak and put it on my YouTube channel. It's gotten more reviews, or views I guess, than all of my other videos combined. So I'm going to stick with the venison theme today. As usual, I'll walk you through the steps and I'll put the recipe in the description below. You know the drill. If you like this kind of video and you'd like to see more, please subscribe, please tell a friend, please leave comments below. All of that is very helpful in my YouTube journey. The next thing I want to tell you is a little bit about this recipe. It's my wife's recipe and it's evolved a lot over the years. If you're someone that really likes specific measurements and ingredients, this might be a frustrating recipe for you. If you're somebody like her that likes to wing it and change it up every time, sometimes it's mixed frozen vegetables with corn and carrots and beans. Other times it's potatoes and sautéed onions. She's made this recipe with black-eyed peas before. All of them turn out great. So don't get hung up on exact ingredients and exact measurements. In fact, for this video we're going to have to reverse engineer it because she doesn't have exact measurements of the ingredients. So as we go, I'm going to write down how much she uses and we'll see how we come out in the end. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is how I prepped this venison. I normally don't soak venison, but I did soak this venison for this recipe, and I'll tell you why. Excuse me. A hunting buddy and I go round and round each year about the virtues of soaking venison. I don't normally soak mine, and I can tell the difference if it's a buck versus a doe, and I prefer the doe meat. He soaks everything for 3 days and changes the water each day. I've always argued that soaking any kind of meat for 3 days in water would just turn it into mush. Well, every year I go to his house, he serves grilled venison. It's excellent, it's not mushy, and I can't tell if it's a buck or a doe. So I concede, and I'm going to start soaking, especially this deer. This deer was an old, mature, ruddy buck that if any deer was going to taste gamey, it would be this one. So I soaked him in water for 2 days, or the steaks. I didn't add anything to the water, but I did change it each day. So as a result, when we get started trimming the meat, you're going to see it has a little bit of a gray tinge to it. Don't worry about that, and everything after that is fine. So stick with me. We'll go to the kitchen and get started. Thanks. So our next step is to trim up these steaks. We've got 4 of these steaks, and they seem really big and thick, but like I said, this was a big deer. But we're going to take off all this fascia and fat, remove the bone, and just trim out just the meat. So we'll do that, and then we'll come back for the next step. Okay, I've trimmed up 3 of my steaks, and I've got quite a bit of meat right here, but I wanted to give you some of my thoughts on trimming up this last one. I'm pretty aggressive when I trim these up. I'm going to go after these big muscles, but if there are things in here that are just too much trouble to get to, I won't worry about them. I also just want the best meat in here. So this is great. This probably isn't worth fooling with, so I'll just trim it off and throw it away. The other thing I want you to be aware of, and you probably already know this, is these are different muscle groups, and there's a line of fascia that separates each one of these. This fascia is really, really tough, so I go in there and just slice everything off. If it's white, I slice it off. I just want red meat. After I get this one done, I'm going to go back and I'm going to slice all of this into small, uniform bite-sized pieces. So we'll come back after I've done this last one. The other thing I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about soaking venison is you don't want to soak this in an aluminum pot or container. So these are big pieces of meat. It takes a big vessel to soak them in. I used the bottom of a crock pot for 2 of them, and then I had a large Tupperware pan for the other one. So just FYI. Let me finish this one and then we'll go on to the next step. I just consulted with my chef, and I'm not doing this right. I was slicing these in little bitty bite-sized pieces, and she came by and showed me that cubes work much better when you're going to the browning stage, which is next. So I'll do better. So here's my venison all cubed up, and the next step is to dredge it in seasoned flour, and then we're going to brown it in a pot, and we'll show you all that. I was going to show you, this is what we normally use, just Kentucky kernel seasoned flour. Hope you can see that. We're really low on that today. So last time we used House Autry chicken breader. This is what I also fry a lot of brim and stuff like that in. So either one, they're both just seasoned flour blends. So we'll get ready and show you the next step. So she's browning these in a thick anodized aluminum pot. She's got a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of oil in the bottom. She's mixing them up in the seasoned flour and then shaking off the excess before she puts them in the pan. And you just want to do a couple of batches at a time so that you don't overwhelm the pot. So we'll go through and get all of these browned and show you the end result. Okay, this is the second batch. We've probably got 1 or 2 more batches to go, but I just wanted to show you how we didn't overfill the pot. And we're just browning the outside. The meat is still pink, so it's going to fully cook later on, so don't worry about that part. The other thing is you'll have to add more oil and butter with each batch, just as needed. So we'll go to the next step after we get all this browned. We've browned all of our venison, and next we want to deglaze the pot to get all the good stuff that's stuck on the bottom of the pot so we can capture it and put it back into our stew. Susan's going to add, we're going to start out with about 6 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, and then just scrape off everything that's in the bottom of this pan. Again, we're re-engineering this, reverse engineering it, so at the end I'll be able to tell you exactly how much we used. But that's our next step. We got everything scraped off the bottom, and we ended up using about twice as much vinegar as I thought. So now we're going to add 2 cups of beef broth. We didn't add that much?
No, I added 1 more tablespoon.
1 more tablespoon, I'm sorry. That'll be in the final recipe. So now we're adding 2 cups of beef broth and 1 cup of red wine. This is good box red wine. So, Worcestershire sauce?
Yes. Four.
That's good. So,
I've never measured it before.
all right, now the meat's going to go back in and cook for a while.
We'll add a bay leaf, and we'll add the meat and let it simmer for two hours.
Okay, add a bay leaf, add the meat back, and let it simmer for 2 hours, and then we'll be back. Okay, it's been 2 hours and about 15 minutes since we let this simmer. This was a little bit tough at 2 hours, so we gave it another 15 minutes, and it's much better. So Susan's going to add frozen vegetables. We just got, corn and carrots and green beans. We're going to cook it for about 20 minutes and then taste it and see what spices it needs. We're pretty sure it's going to need thyme. It may need more than that, salt and pepper. We'll just kind of figure that out when we get there. So now we're just going to add veggies and give it 20 minutes. It's been 20 minutes since we added the vegetables, and the frozen vegetables had corn and carrots and peas and green beans. and it looks really, really good. We've both tasted it, and the meat's nice and tender. Susan has added, and this is where she's a lot better at it than I am, she's added salt and pepper, thyme, and sage. And we're just going to give it, 10 minutes to kind of blend the flavors, but it looks great. So we'll be back for a final shot at the end. Okay, here's the final version. I'm going to see what it tastes like. It's really, really good. You have to season this thing, to your personal preferences. We added some more salt and pepper, some more Worcestershire. It's different every time. So be flexible and try it out. And also keep in mind that she does different versions of this. She's got one with potatoes and sautéed onions that's wonderful. I told you earlier, once she did it with black-eyed peas. It was great. My daughter did cornbread tonight to go with it, and it's just comfort food. So thanks for staying with me, and I'll see you next time. Take care.